Hello and welcome to another video tutorial here on understanding body language, liars, cheats and happy feet. So today I've got something pretty groundbreaking for you. I need to critique some of my own work, believe it or not. A couple of days ago I did a body language analysis video of a lady talking about a UFO encounter she saw in 1954, and I gave it the all clear body language wise. However, with that in mind, what someone on YouTube has sent me another video, Sarah Smith, thank you very much, whereas this lady's talking about the same encounter, but roughly around about maybe 5-10 years previous. So what we're going to look at is, we're not looking at her body language this time. We're going to analyse her statements using statement analysis or specific content analysis. So what I've done, I've made quite a few notes on this. I've got to say a big thank you to my wonderful partner Kat, who sat down with me and helped me analyse this, because my girlfriend is very adept at noticing changes in language, a lot better than I am, clearly. So a big thank you to Kat. So we'll make a start on this new video. I'll punch it up so you can see it, and let's watch this lady talking about what actually happened on that day. So
one farmhouse.
Here we go. So we'll start the video again.
One such encounter happened to Mrs. Jessie Rustenberg, then living in this Staffordshire farmhouse.
It was on an October day, the 21st of October in 1954. I was in the back kitchen of the house preparing myself, just having washed, and I heard this noise. Now, it was just like a giant cauldron of water being poured onto a red-hot fire.
So let's pause that there. So that was then, and let's see what she said here, roughly. You can see the changes physically in her face.
Was getting changed.
There we go.
I heard this terrific noise. It was just like a giant cauldron of water being poured onto a fire. A sort of noise,
So we're saying a use of example language there. So we're using exactly the same statements, almost word perfect. That particular exchange between here and then. So that's almost word perfect. So watch it again.
If you can imagine, 1,000 times louder. And my first reaction was the children. I must get out, there's a plane crashing. So I slipped on my jumper, I ran out through the side entrance of the house.
Now what's interesting to note there is when she said, I run out.
Towards the front garden, through the side entrance of the house, towards the front, the plane crashing.
Okay, listen.
So I slipped on my jumper, I run out.
I run out. Then she changes her verb tense.
Side entrance of the house, towards the front garden, to look for them coming across the fields. And to my amazement, there, suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm. So
know what she says then. Let's go back.
But if you can imagine, 1,000 times louder. And my first reaction was the children.
So the children.
I must get out, there's a plane crashing.
Okay.
So I slipped on my jumper, I ran out through the side entrance of the house, towards the front garden, to look for them coming across the fields. So
she's looking for them coming towards the field. So please bear that in mind, that she's gone out looking for them. Okay?
And to my amazement, there, suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm, was this object that I...
So there you go. So what she's saying is she went out, and as soon as she went out, she saw it, yeah? So let's watch what she says later on. This is the old video.
And the first reaction was, oh, the children. I thought maybe a plane was crashing or something like that. And I slipped my jumper on and went outside to find my two sons lying flat on the ground in the garden in front of the house, shouting, "Mummy, Mummy, there's a flying saucer." Well, naturally, I just said, "Come on, don't be stupid. Come in the house." But felt sort of a strange sensation.
So we've got there inconsistencies in the story already. At the start on the other video, she said that she was looking for them, and she immediately saw the saucer when she was out looking. There was no mention that they were that the boys were with her. She was just looking for them. If she'd have found them, she would have said. What's even more interesting is at the start of this video, listen to what she says here.
Out in the country, well, You just tell me what you saw.
Well, it was one ordinary day. I was waiting for my husband to come home from work, and my two sons went to Cypher to school.
So nothing ordinary. I was waiting for my husband to come home, and my
two sons went to Cypher to school.
Went to school. So they went to school. So bear that in mind. So these two children went off to school. So we don't know necessarily what she's talking about in the morning, the evening, or the nighttime, because she just used the word day there. But what's interesting to know is when she's talking here, if they were going off to school, what she says here,
changed, and I heard this terrific noise.
She says she said just come inside. However, if she was sending them off to school, surely she would have sent them on their way.
Giant cauldron of water being poured onto a fire, a sort of noise, you know. And the first reaction was, oh, the children. I thought maybe a plane was crashing or something like that. And I slipped my jumper on and went outside to find my two sons lying flat on the ground in the garden.
So if your kids are at school, or went to school, why would they be lying face down in your garden? So we've got the inconsistencies already, because bearing in mind, she doesn't mention any of this in the video prior to this one, because you can clearly see in the other video that she's a lot younger than she is now. So we've got clear inconsistencies here about where these children were. A, she was looking for them, coming back. She said they were coming through the field, obviously coming towards home. But in this next instance, at the start of the video, she said they went to school.
Well, it was one ordinary day.
Listen again.
I was waiting for my husband to come home from work, and my two sons went to Cypher to school.
So they went to Cypher to school. So they went to school. Well, I've done a bit of research in where that is. If they were going to school, it is roughly, now bearing in them days, they might have walked across the field like she says. It still would take 47 minutes to get there. So we can see already here inconsistencies in this story about where the children were. One respect in this video here, she said she was out looking for them.
Just having washed, and I heard this noise. Now, it was just like first reaction was the children.
Yeah.
I must get out, there's a plane crashing.
So what happens now?
So I slipped on my jumper, I ran out through the side entrance of the house towards the front garden to look for them coming across the fields.
So we're looking for them coming across the fields. However, she said she came out to see them lying on the ground shouting mummy mummy. However,
and to my amazement, they're suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm.
So there you go. So clear inconsistencies there. In this respect, those children were never there. She was just looking. Looking doesn't indicate they were ever found. However, what's more and more apparent is when she's talking here. Listen to this.
Up the side of the house to where we had a pump in front of the house, shouting mummy mummy, there's a flying saucer.
Right here.
Well, naturally I just said, come on, don't be stupid. Come in the house.
So why would they be coming in the house if they went to school? That doesn't make any sense. In the original circumstance, she should have said that she was waiting for her husband to come home from work and she's waiting for her children to come home from work. She doesn't say that. She said that her sons went to school. So it's very interesting that she would start at the end of the story here. Surely she should start at the beginning. So it's in a clear inconsistency here.
But felt sort of a strange sensation. Wended my way up the side of the house.
Now that's interesting because she said she wented my way. So my indicating that there was nobody else present. So what she's saying here is she went on her own.
Where we had a pump where we used to get all our water from, and automatically looked up to see this, all I can describe, this huge Mexican hat.
So a huge Mexican hat. But bearing in mind, in the first story, she said she came out, looked for the children, and it was there. So what we're seeing now is that she came out, her two children were on the floor shouting, mummy, mummy, there's a UFO. She leaves them there because she said she went on my way, not that we went, my way. She's gone to the water pump, and she's looked up, and she's seen this UFO.
It was stationary, this thing, and it was bright silver in colour, and it had a dome.
So, already massive inconsistencies here. Let's go back to this original story. And let's move on to the next chapter.
Towards the front garden, to look for them coming across the fields. And to my amazement, they're suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm. was this object that I can only describe.
Now then, scoot back there. Now this is a great use of distancing language.
Suspended on the top of the roof of this old farm.
Of this old farm. Now then, you wouldn't use that particular word if you were associating something that you owned or something that belonged to you. You wouldn't say this old. You would say my. Let's say, for instance, that someone vandalised your car. You'd say someone vandalised my car. You wouldn't say someone vandalised the car. So again, we're seeing uses here of distancing. So you're not taking ownership for this.
Was this object that I can only describe as a huge Mexican hat. It was that shape without the bubbles. It must have been 15 to 20 yards from where I stood. It covered the roof, so in circumference it must have been about 60 feet. It was in.
Let me pause it there. Now then, for those you don't know, a yard is 3 foot. 20 yards times 3 is 60 foot. So what she's saying there, it was 60 foot away, and it was 60 foot in diameter.
It covered the roof, so in circumference.
But because she doesn't want to say the word 60 twice, because it would look like she's making things up, she used a different metric system.
So it must have been
So a
about
different
60 feet.
variation of length.
Enormous. The people in the spacecraft were just looking out. I could see them.
Now what's interesting, she uses the word people there. Now then, we're all assuming these are extraterrestrials. Now people is just plural for human beings. So what she's using there is inconsistent again.
From the waist to the top of their heads. They were very beautiful people. They had long golden hair, like the old kings used to wear, turned under. They had a very vivid blue, like ski top fair.
Okay, let me pause it there. Let's go back onto the original video I analysed.
A dome. It was tilted to sort of. I could see the occupants in it.
You saw people in it?
I saw people in it. There was
So we've gone from occupants to people. So we've got a shift in language.
2 people in there. These people were beautiful people. That's the only way I can describe them. They had long golden hair, like a page boy bob, just like the old kings.
So we're seeing an exact replica of language here. This is exactly the same words.
You used to see photographs of the old kings, and the colour of the hair was golden. Now, I was really.
What were they dressed in?
They had a sort of a polo neck jumper affair, like a ski top suit, in pale blue.
Now it was pale blue there, however, how she describes it here, listen.
From the waist to the top of their heads. They were very beautiful people. They had long golden hair, like the old kings used to wear, turned under.
Exactly the same
They
language.
had a very vivid blue.
Very vivid and very plain. Now then, vivid equals dazzling and very bright. Doesn't exactly go hand in hand with what she just said there.
They had a sort of a polo neck jumper affair, like a ski top suit, in pale blue.
Pale blue to vivid. There's a mismatch there, massive mismatch in colour. Just keep watching.
Like ski top fair. And they just looked at us. Their eyes, the expression in their eyes were full of compassion. And then, all of a sudden, I felt the tension leaving me, and I felt movement, and I turned round to touch my children, and when I looked again, it was good.
Now, where have these children come from? There has been no mention of these children throughout this video, apart from at the start, when she said...
It was on a base. Now, it was just like a giant cauldron of water being poured onto
Let's watch
its
again.
reaction was the children. I
yeah.
must get out, there's a plane crashing. So I slipped on my jumper, I ran out through the side entrance of the house, towards the front garden, to look for them coming across the fields.
So we've seen to look for them coming through the field. So looking for them does not imply they were ever found. However, she's implying that they were found and somehow they've managed to get to her at this point here.
It was gone. Now, we stood there to touch my children, and when I looked again, it was gone.
So how interesting. At no point does she mention the children in this particular interview. She only said looking. So at this point they've not been found, they're not with her. But now they are with her. So where have they come from? What were they doing? There's no mention of this.
Now, we stood there, and I said to the boys, did you see what I seen? Yes, Mummy, yes. I said, well, where is it? It's gone. And we looked, and my second son said, there it is, Mum. And we watched it in the sky, just like a cotton reel, circle round the farm 3 times. And then it just shot straight up and away.
Then it shot straight up and away. What does she say here when she's discussing that?
And I turned to sort of look down at the boys,
Okay.
and they just looked. And I was absolutely paralytic with fear. I couldn't move, although my mind was ticking over. And they looked so sympathetic that I was just mesmerised for what seemed to be, ages, but it could have only been seconds. And I turned to sort of look down at the boys.
Now don't forget, here she said she wandered off.
Wended my way up the side of the house to where we had a pump where we used to get all our water from, and automatically looked up to see this, all I can describe.
So the boys were not with her because she said she went on my way. She didn't use the expression we. So now, somehow...
I see anything? Can you see anything? And they said, there it is, Mum, and they object that I described as like a Mexican hat without the bubbles.
And then it flew away sideways or upwards?
No, I didn't see.
Okay, note that.
Away sideways or upwards?
No, I didn't see.
But in the first instance, she was telling that it went straight up, don't forget. Now she didn't see.
It had gone, but I assume it went straight up, because for a short...
But I assume it went straight up.
It's like a cotton reel, circle round the farm 3 times, and then it just shot straight up and up.
Inconsistent, massively, complete and utter contradiction.
While after in the sky I looked around and I said to my 2 boys, well, can you see anything? Can you see anything? And they said, there it is, Mum, and they pointed up, and I watched it. It was just like a little cotton reel in the sky, and it circled us 3 times. It went round 3 times, and then it just shot off, and that was it.
So interesting to note they said it shot off in the final time, not shot up, which is interesting there, because we've got a contrast in language there.
When I started to analyse myself afterwards, I feared that I might have had an hallucination, but then I knew I hadn't had, because my sons were so sure about what they'd seen and what I'd seen.
Well, don't forget, they were never together at this point. There's no mention of them being next to each other because she went off on her own. In the first instance, their boys weren't even there in the first interview, so we have to rely on that.
And it went through my mind that it was a secret weapon from Russia, and then I thought, well, it can't be that, because if they had something like that, they wouldn't need to fear anybody or anything.
Were you scared by it? Did you run indoors?
I was petrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't move a muscle. I was paralysed with fear.
So there's no mention of this in the other video.
But now I wouldn't be. Because now, when I look back, I think, what an amazing thing to have happened, and for me to have seen it.
And when your husband came home, where were you?
Well, when my husband came home from the office, I was locked in the house with my children, under a big kitchen table that we were using.
Under the table?
Now then, I must apologise to my audience and whoever watched this video. I completely and utterly missed this passage here. Now then, what is interesting to note here is, let me just run through this particular statement here, which casts doubt on my entire body language analysis from last time. This passage here is massively deceptive, I'm afraid to say. There's potential signs for deception here.
And when your husband came home, where were you?
Well, when my husband came home from the office...
That's the first one. Mirrored language. We repeat what the person has just said to give us more time to think, to create.
Because I was locked
Pacifying gesture to the face.
In the house with my children. Under a big kitchen table that we were using.
Breaks eye contact. Note the language used.
What an amazing thing to have happened. And for me
Under
to have seen it.
a big kitchen table.
Where were you?
Well, when my husband came home from the office, I was locked in the
Pacifier.
house with my children. Under a big kitchen table that
Under a big kitchen table. Not my table, not the table. A kitchen table. There must be a reason why she said a and not my or the. We've just had a roast here tonight, me and the missus, and I often say, I always say, I'll just put the cutlery on the table. Do you want me to put your drink on the table? I would never say, do you want me to put the drink on a table? We're seeing examples there of complete and utter pacifying.
from the office, I was locked in the house with my children.
What I also missed
Under a big
was
kitchen table that we
was
were
the double
using.
shrug.
Under the table,
The
yes.
double shrug after she said that.
In the house
Pacifier.
with my children.
Watch the shrug.
Under a big kitchen table that we were
There you
using.
go.
Under the table. Under the table.
Don't
yes.
forget, and that's a partial shrug, only halfway, implies no confidence in what you've just said, and then pulls out that particular facial expression after we see a cluster of potential deception.
Seen it.
And when your husband came home, where were you?
Well, when my husband came
Mirrored
home from
language.
the office, I was locked in the
Pacifier,
house with my children.
eye contact,
Under a big kitchen table.
a table,
We were
double
using.
shoulder
Under the
shrug,
table. Under the table, yes.
that facial expression. So there are clusters in my eyes for potential deception, which I see now, having watched this video back and having seen the previous video.
It's funny now when I look back. You know, it sounds absolutely ridiculous, but this
And
is,
maybe she's given an insight into the actual true story there by saying it's absolutely
it's
ridiculous.
funny now when I look back.
Maybe
you know,
we do often flirt with the truth
sounds
sometimes.
absolutely ridiculous, but this is the truth. This happened.
Well, in my eyes, from doing statement analysis and seeing both of these videos now, I can see massive holes in this particular story. We're seeing lots of use of distancing language, like we said before about I ran, at table, the barn, I ran out. No mention of the children in the first story. We're seeing plenty of distances, and we're not seeing the letter I.
To find my two sons.
And what's also interesting,
These people
I missed one bit
I
out
was
actually.
from, and automatically looked up to see
So there we go. So she said automatically looked up, but doesn't say I automatically looked
the
up.
pump where we used to get all our water from, and automatically looked up to see.
So we're seeing no examples of I. So there you go. So my overall conclusion now is there is massive holes in this particular story. Were the children present? I don't know. In this respect, they weren't because she was just looking for them. In the other one, she said that they were out on the floor shouting, "Mummy, Mum's a UFO." However, in both respects, she was never present at the same time. They never watched them together, apart from at the end. She went on our way to the water fountain in this particular analysis video. However, in this one, there's no mention of that because she saw them as soon as she walked out.
I ran out through the side entrance of the house towards the front garden to look for them coming across the fields, and to my amazement, they're suspended.
There. So there's no walking down the side to get to the water pump. There's no mention of the children being lying there. She would have mentioned that. We're seeing complete contrast between these two here. And it's all done by specific content analysis, by looking at her words, never mind her body language, because her body language is pretty good throughout this, apart from the little faint signs towards the end. So I'm afraid to say I'm going to reverse my original decision on body language by saying that video looked truthful. Now, having done statement analysis by seeing the same lady talking about this encounter and how it is both massively different on both accounts. So with that in mind, I've got to say that, in my opinion, I don't think this story actually happened because there's too many inconsistencies now between both of those. So there you go. So that was more of a specific content analysis video, apart from body language. So I hope you don't mind me doing a little bit of statement analysis. I've got to say a big thank you to Mark McLeish and my recent work with I Know You Are Lying. Mark McLeish is a very, very, very intelligent man, and you can learn a lot about statement analysis by visiting his website or reading I Know You Are Lying, which you can get on Amazon, which I did. So there you go. So I do hope you enjoyed that video tutorial here on understanding body language, lies, cheats and happy feet. Again, I've got to say a big shout out to my Mrs. Cat, who originally spotted these kind of grammatical errors when she was watching my analysis video, saying, well, why would that happen? Why would children be coming inside if they went to school? So I've got to say a big thank you to Kat, who's in there watching Come Down With Me, and I'm in the bedroom doing this. So anyway, if you'd like to learn more about body language, please check out my Understanding Body Language Liars, Cheats and Happy Feet page. It can be found on Facebook, and follow me at Twitter at Body Language UK. So with that in mind, I do hope you enjoyed that analysis video. Please share this as much as you can, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. So from everyone here at Body Language, take care, and bye-bye for now.